Good morning. Been a busy week last week. We spent 3 days, 4 days, almost 4 days in winter camp in Big Bear. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday is our missions conference. Great missions conference. And busy and back to school. And I'm doing a couple of classes in our Christian school. And I want to mention, if you didn't get to pick up one of our missions conference books, these books are just page after page of the missionaries that we support. We'll have these available in the services for a while, just to be sure everybody gets some. But these are great people. These are frontline soldiers who've stepped out to do the unusual, and often at great price. But what great people. I want to encourage you to get one of those. And just a moment or two as we think about this week. And one reason for our missions conference is to get our church aware of world missions. Young people who never get exposed to missionary work are less likely to go to the mission field. One of our couples, they got engaged just this last, maybe 2 weeks ago. And he's finished college. She's going to finish in May. And they're on their way to Africa, probably Zambia, but that's their direction they're going. They're looking. And we've got another one of our families that's on deputation. And we're seeing our young people continue to do the work of God. Just being candid to the critics of fundamentalism, our young people continue to love God, love church, love the Bible, go off to Bible college. Many of them. During this last year, one of our young ladies, a couple of our people graduated. One young man, one young lady graduated from nursing school. People go into other colleges. We've got some of our young people right now. One of our young men in engineering school, and our young people, most of them, I'm going to say 9 out of 10 go to college somewhere, but probably 7 or 8 out of 10 go to Bible college, at least for a while. Our young people are finding happy marriages, and they're finding service of God a pleasure, a joy. We've got several of our young people right now. They're headed to the mission field. They got a little more college to wrap up some Bible training. But what a blessing that our church continues after 42 years, August 42. So we're approaching 42 and a half years of teaching and preaching the Word of God. Fundamentalism works. Old-fashioned Bible-believing Christianity works. This book works. Getting saved and surrendering to the authority of the Word of God, it works. It produces a happier life. It produces happier marriages. It produces happier children. The Bible works. And the critics of the Word of God have been common. Since Cain killed Abel, there have been people who criticize the way that God does things. People that don't like God, they don't like God's authority. That's the biggest thing. They don't want any authority in their life. Cain wanted to be able to bring whatever offering he wanted. And God said, I need a blood offering. Abel brought a blood offering, and God was pleased. Cain brought a vegetable offering of his own hard work. It wasn't a bad offering. It just wasn't what God wanted. If I ask my wife, if she says, what do you want for lunch? And I say, I want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and she brings me a grilled ham and cheese, that isn't what I asked for. And that's no way to please people. And God, being God, has a right to say, this is how I want you to do it. This book is filled from the very beginning to the very end. It is filled with stories of people who simply despise dominion. The book of Jude talks about they despise dominion. In Romans 13, it talks about the authorities, the civil authorities, are the ministers of God. The Bible teaches us to follow an authority. Of course, the highest authority. What makes one person authority and one person not? Because God said they were. And there's all kinds of authorities in the Bible. Romans 13, 7 and 17 say that the pastor is an authority. Of course, the Bible talks about parents as being authorities, government officials being authorities. The boss on a job, the Bible talks about servants and masters. We would translate that into employees and employers. They have authority, but an employer doesn't have a right to tell me to pack up and go to South America as a missionary. Only God could do that. There are authorities. I don't have a right as a pastor to tell a group of young people to put a uniform on and take guns and go to another country and deal whatever, go into battle. That's the governments and governmental leaders have armies and they have those. That's been in the Bible almost from the beginning as well. So each authority has different realm of authority. Parents have a circle of authority over their kids, and this world we're in hates authority. I mentioned it, but let me just read it for you, because we are in a culture where people simply hate the idea that anybody has a right to tell them anything, and they just this idea of any kind of authority. He says in Jude 8, likewise also these filthy dreamers defile the flesh, despise dominion, and speak evil of dignities. Now, the progression here is true of many people. They do wrong. They get involved and they defile the flesh. They get involved in wrongdoing. And then, either with that synonymous, at the same time, or it follows, they despise dominion. People yield themselves to wrongdoing, and then they know that authority, whether it be parents or whoever, doesn't agree with them and thinks what they're doing is wrong, and so they despise that dominion. They don't want anybody telling them what to do. The biggest problem with political liberalism in America is this spirit of anarchy. No one has a right to tell us what to do. No one has a right to tell us what gender we are. No one has a right to tell us who to marry and who not to marry. Well, you know what? God is the authority, and God does have some right because he's God. But the first step, defiling the flesh, doing wrong in whatever direction, but especially in this area, filthiness, and then because they've been doing wrong, then they get angry at the authority who they know in their heart, they know they're wrong. We know, we step over the line into wrong. We know we're wrong. And I guess you do it long enough, you might be able to convince yourself, you sear your conscience, but then they get mad at the authority. That could be the parent, the pastor, the boss, the government, or in the case of political leaders, our liberal politicians despise dominion. They hate the Constitution. That's why you'll hear political people wanting to rewrite the Constitution. Why? Because they hate any kind of authority over them. When they get into office, I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe every one of our senators, congressmen, all of our political leaders have to swear to uphold the Constitution of their state or the Constitution of their country. Used to be with their hand on a Bible, but some idiots let people put their hand on a Koran. That's not America, and that's not what we are. But the dominion, the authority of the Constitution. If you are going to lead America, you are to swear your allegiance to the Constitution, to the Bill of Rights. That's freedom of speech. That's freedom of religion. That's the free exercise of religion. That means in my church, if we're going to have services 3 times a week, it does not matter what trumped up medical panic has been created, and the government has no right to come in and tell a church how to or not to worship, or to exercise. It's called in the Bill of Rights, the free exercise of our faith. See, once you start doing wrong, then you hate those people who tell you shouldn't, or who have already told you and you just rebelled and did your own thing. But then look at the third thing there in Jude, verse 7. Verse 8. They speak evil of dignities. Now, they've done wrong, or they've given themselves to a lifestyle that's wrong: liquor, drugs, immorality, perversion, government corruption, tyranny, whatever it might be. Now they despise the authority. They hate anybody telling them they're wrong. So what do they have to do? They have to speak evil of dignities. They've got to start tearing down these people. In the days of Benedict Arnold, it was being done. And it was done by Absalom, who spoke evil of his father, and little by little tore down the people's loyalty to David. It was done by Korah, Dathan, and Abiram, the people who said of Moses, "Who do you think you are, acting like you're the leader?" Marion and Aram did it with their brother Moses, and we do wrong. We despise those people. We despise the dominion, not only the person who has authority, but we despise the very idea that someone has a right to tell us what to do. And then third, begin to speak evil. Now in our day, they'll use social media to do it. And stupid people, and I emphasize, I know people that don't like the word stupid. I believe stupid people, intentionally stupid, idiotic, moronic people, take what they read on some casual social media post and act like it's true. What? We used to make fun of the tabloids at the grocery store aisle. Spaceship lands in backyard and mother gives birth to, half Martian, half human child, and they got a picture of some morphed up whatever. We all knew that was stupid. We all know those who bought those things. But those tabloids, all social media is a bunch of tabloids where people have an out to just throw their whatever. Used to be you had to have a ton of money or a following to publish anything. Well, now you can go on any social media and publish whatever. And stupid, moronic, idiotic, evil people believe those things. And I'll tell you, I've heard lots of things posted on the internet that the people who said those things would never say those things under oath. They never say those things when they were confronted eyeball to eyeball, because they know they're just speaking evil of dignities. And they're right here in the book of Job, and they're all through the scriptures. But this in particular, he's talking about, he calls them filthy dreamers. And he goes on and on. The book of Jude says much about authority, talks about Balaam and his relationship. But here we are, missions week. So what's that got to do with missions? God said, go into all the world and preach the gospel. That means the whole world needs the gospel. And we've got a world, they don't like that idea, that you're taking your faith and you're pushing it on people. No, we're not. We're telling people. It's like a Chevy ad. You drive a Ford, I'm advertising my Chevy or my Chrysler or whatever it is. I'm just offering you the choice. And in my advertising, I may try to sell you on the finer points or the better price or whatever. We are all, anybody in business is trying to influence someone. You make herbal teas and I make a new brand of coffee. We're all trying to, as in Bible Christianity, all we're doing is offering it to people. There were times Paul just washed his hands, said, I'm done with you. Shake the dust off my feet. You don't want to hear it? Fine, I'll go tell somebody else. We don't, Bible-believing Christians don't push their faith. We'll tell people. And we want people to know Jesus is the only way. If you don't want him, that's your problem. But we are not going to have somebody go through life and not hear the precious news that Jesus saves. And he saves freely. He doesn't ask you to do anything. He just asks you to trust him. And so God so loved the world. Go into all the world. Christ died for sinners, of whom I'm chief, Paul said, the whole world. And so where we are today, we've got a commission to go to the world. First problem, a lot of people don't want us going to the world. They think we're trying to mess up their aboriginal roots or whatever. No, we're trying to keep them from going to hell is what we're trying to do. Then there are governments. Second thing that causes trouble with the gospel message to the world, there are governments that hate the Bible. You cannot, it's been said by all the way back to George Washington, and I'm sure before that, you cannot enslave a Bible-reading people, because the Bible develops grit and tenacity and conviction. The Bible develops manhood and womanhood to where we are strong in who we are and what we are, and you can't change me. And we've watched that in some great heroes throughout history, but boy, there's communist governments and the Stalin, Lenin, Hitler, Mao, the communist rulers. Those people, they hate the Bible. They eventually outlawed the Bible, outlawed evangelism, outlawed Christian schools. They outlawed teaching children the things of God. Why? Because they know as a government they can't beat God, and they sure can't beat the Word of God. And so what they do, they try to outlaw the Bible, they try to outlaw church, and they try to take God from their thoughts. What a tragedy that is. But you know what? God didn't say go to all the countries that welcome you. He said go to all the world and preach the gospel. And so, and the work of God is great. And I thank God for radio. We've got a lot of our missionaries using radio to go into cities and into countries where it's difficult to go. We use literature. We bring literature in. But it didn't matter. The Apostle Paul went to other countries, and he'd go in, and sometimes he'd have rocks thrown at him. Sometimes he'd be chased from one city to another. Paul didn't say would go to the governmental leaders and say, do you mind if I come and tell people about Jesus? He went because Jesus told him. And the government can like it or lump it. This thing of the Great Commission and the missionaries, oh, what a great privilege we have to do what we're doing. And there's so much in the Bible about it. I hope you'll, number one, pray for our missionaries. Number two, give however you could give. Doesn't matter, $1 a week or whatever you want to do, but give something. Give regularly to missions. Pray for them. Give to them. And then around our church, I saw that great teen choir singing yesterday morning. Huge crowd of teenagers singing. The adult choir opened the service, and then a few minutes later, the teen choir sang. And the auditorium was full. No way the teenagers could go and have seats. That's why we have teen choir up there. It's easier we can put more teens in the choir loft than adults, but not enough room. But when you see those teenagers sing, pray for them. God, help those young people surrender to your will. Now, if God's will is for them to be an engineer, a plumber, carpenter, doesn't matter to me. I want them to be in the will of God. I want our young people, as our adults, to say, God, whatever you want. I watched a video Sunday morning, one of our missionary videos, and I thought, oh, Lord, I would go. And I think, but I couldn't go now, not unless you resurrect these knees of mine. But I love the work of God, and I love the ministry of the gospel, and I want to stay surrendered to His will. Now, if His will is me to be in pain, that's a hard thing to surrender to. But there's some great Christians that God's plan for them has obviously been very difficult physically, and I can't answer all the questions of the why. I just know He's a God that we can trust. So I want to encourage you in regard to our missions. Pray for our young people that they would be surrendered to God. Give something financially, and then pray. Take time to pray. These are wonderful people we support, and the world needs our missionaries. Might be our money and our missionaries are the only reason God is sustaining America. Might be, I don't know. But as vile as our country has gotten, I don't know any other reason He would care about America, to preserve America. We print Bibles and tracts, and then we send young people, we send missionaries, and we send our money. And maybe that's enough to just keep that little hold of God preserving our nation. But I hope you'll take time to consider the world. We're so blessed. We're so blessed. Let's get the rest of the world a little bit of the blessing we've received. Hope you have a great day, great week, and let's look forward to what God has done.